Pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Sections 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney.
You'll want to read that part again when everyone.
All right. At this time, the board is going to reconvene into open session so that everybody watching tonight knows that tonight's board meeting, the board is operating on a new platform, so we kindly ask your patience as we become familiar with our new system. So tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in a called work session board meeting. The board welcomes and values input from the community. A single open forum will be provided tonight during tonight's meeting to allow the public the opportunity to address the board. During this time, individuals may share comments or requests related to both agenda and non-agenda items. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify their name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums or during the open forum, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
No additional comments today.
Okay, any clarifications?
None at this time.
Okay. It's not like tracking.
Yeah, it doesn't. So you have to,
Okay.
you can go to 5 is where we are. Yep.
Okay, so open forum. Thank you. All right, we have one card tonight, and speaker is Angelica James. Yes. Yeah, you can come up here and stand here at the podium. And will we have the timer on the screen?
Once you start talking, the topic will go off. Okay. Yep. So, my name is Angelica, former employee from Transportation Division. I'm going to highlight some issues that has happened. On August 19th, 2025, at approximately 9 a.m., I observed white bus 8216 being driven by the employee. I personally saw her drive past me 3 times, and she waved to both of us, to me and another employee. During an in-service meeting, this employee told me directly that her driver's license was suspended and that she needed an SR-22 and that she was driving without insurance. Her purpose of telling me this was because she wanted to become a bus driver. After seeing her drive that morning, I went to another employee and asked her confirmation with that employee's license was suspended. The employee went to the coordinator, who then informed the operational manager. The employee came back out and to the break room and told me that all the managers were going to go into a meeting after I informed her. The employee also told me that that employee that has no license and has been driving without a valid driver's license the 2024 to 2025 school year, despite the operational manager allowing that employee to drive she allows her to drive the white SUV and pick up students at Keys High School along with other students when transportation is slammed. I was further informed by the employee that during the same school year, on multiple occasions, the safety coordinator warned the operational manager that employees should not be driving without a license, and that continuing to allow this would result into serious consequence. This document is a written statement from that employee, currently admitting that she was driving without a license. The fact that the statement was placed in an employee file sent over during an unemployment investigation that indicates that HEB, HR department, and management were aware of the situation, and that employee is still currently employed along with the managers that allowed her to drive. Question: how would that employee be able to get the keys to transportation vehicle? She either stole the keys out of the dispatch office, or management allowed her to drive. What is unclear is who conducted the meeting with the employee. What manager or HR representative was present? because at the top of this document, it says, meeting with employee. There's some accountability that needs to be had. I am raising this issue because after I submitted my religion exemption and notified the company that I would intend to go to the board, and I was terminated a week later, HR stated that I broke the law, that on the 30th of October, and I was terminated on October 31st, 1 week after informing that it was escalated. Transportation hides a lot of things, and there's some things that need to be dealt with. People are driving without licenses, but yet, if I commit something, I'm in trouble.
Okay,
They
Ms.
pick and
James.
choose.
Ms. James,
Yeah.
if you have a complaint that you actually want to make, we do have a process for that. So who would like to talk to her to explain? Yes. Mr. Martinez? Okay. So Mr. Martinez, is he here in the back? Okay. But out there in the hallway, he can talk to you about how to start the complaint process.
Okay.
So that you can actually go through our formalized complaint process.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Thank you. So at this time, the board is going to adjourn into closed session. Pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, the board will adjourn into closed session. And in order to accommodate the availability of our board's attorney, the board will move closed session item 13.02, which is 551.071, for the purpose of private consultation with legal counsel on matters authorized by the law, to this closed session. We will also be discussing section 551.072, 551.074, and 551.076. All right, at this time, the board will reconvene into open session. We're at action item 8.01, considering approval of Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Schools. I will accept a motion.
I move the board approve Katie Harrell as the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Administration.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve Katie Harrell as Assistant Superintendent of Secondary or of Elementary Administration. Please vote.
We're still voting.
There you go. There you go. All right, Ms. Harrell, you know how this works. You've been here a few times, so you can stand up and introduce the folks you brought with you. And
Absolutely. I brought my family, my husband Ray, who's been on this journey since we started our journey in 2006, and my two daughters, Allison, who's a freshman, and Avery, who is in 6th grade. So I could not do it without them. I'm very excited.
all right, well, congratulations. We're very excited to have you as part of the ELT.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are ready for our reports and presentations. Let her go.
Let everybody leave.
Yeah. Y'all can go.
Boy, they're all here.
Good call. Cattle call.
I love the way they support each other.
She's like, please stay for a report.
All right, 9.01, revisions to legal policies and administrative regulation, TASB Board Policy Update 126. Ms. Tuttle?
We provided this information to you several weeks ago, and the reason we did that is this is the largest update that has ever happened in the history of TASB updates. So I just want to say thank you to our executive leadership team members and our division leaders who have worked tirelessly for the last 2 months going through this, reviewing it, making sure we're in compliance, and then making sure individuals who need to be aware or part of the plan are a part of that plan. But tonight, the information that we're sharing with you in this report are just what you've already reviewed, and it's the revisions to legal policies and regulations, which you know don't require board approval because they're based on statute. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
You're tag teaming that. Okay, thank you. Tonight, we are bringing forward the 2025 survey data. Overall, the results were favorable, and the complete survey data was shared with you in the Friday update for your review. But this evening's presentation is a snapshot of that data, focusing specifically on areas that you've requested related to the strategic plan, along with several additional data points that we identified through the survey results. As in the past, the information will be presented in a very reduced, high-level format, and we're going to highlight key trends and takeaways. So tonight, Dave Nilsson is going to walk us through the portions of all 3 surveys put into one presentation.
Hello. So, like she said, we've kind of streamlined this a little bit, so I'll ask at the end if this worked well for us. But in the past, we stepped through about 70 slides, and it was just click, click, click. It was more information than really made sense to try to process in that moment. So we've streamlined a little bit, but you do still have access to everything you have in previous years through the Friday update. Our strategic plan alignment, the survey touches on many elements of the strategic plan, but mostly stakeholder satisfaction and the efficient use of district resources. Big picture, we aim to do a couple things with the survey. It is a data source for some quality indicators in our strategic plan. There are some departments that rely on a few questions here and there as part of their mandatory reporting data that they need to report, so we help them with that. But the big picture is probably that third bullet. We get some reports that provide trend data that let district and campus leaders know what they might want to take a closer look at. And I always try to remind people of that. The survey is not a diagnostic tool. It does not say you need to change this and replicate this. It gives us an idea of where we want to take a closer look, where we want to ask more questions, look at other data points, things like that. And it does that by being a voice of our stakeholders. So that is alongside the conversations we have with stakeholders all year round. This is another opportunity for them to tell us how we're doing. Generally, our survey process starts in September. We connect with the vendor, we make our timeline, we work on any possible updates to questions. For the most part, we do try not to update questions because we want to preserve that trending data. We've got our questions pretty well locked in on what they need to be for us. Our survey window is usually late October into November, but this year we held the beginning of the survey window until the day after Election Day. We didn't want some responses coming before the election and some after. We wanted them all in the same context. And then after we do our survey window, the vendor processes reports. When we get those, we check them to make sure they look reasonable. They always do, no technical issues. And then we start sharing those with district and campus leaders. This year, like I said, we did wait until after Election Day to get started. Normally, we try to wrap up around Thanksgiving break, but our numbers were a little bit lower this year, so our vendor suggested we keep it open through break and then another week after. That delayed our results slightly, but that ended up in us having a plethora of answers. So we have a much higher number of responses this year, but I want to give you that information so you don't anticipate that in future years. Long term, we are seeing kind of a slow decline in the number of responses we get, and that does line up with what our vendor is seeing across the board in other districts. These next few slides are the...
Up for a
Absolutely,
question? Did
yes.
we do another push for, with communication on taking it, or?
Yes, so the vendor, we provide some basic contact information to the vendor, like parent emails, and then they send reminder emails for parents who did not use that link that they've received yet. So there was an additional push, and that probably helped us in those extra weeks. Of course. These next few slides are specific alignments to strategic plan points. So we do have a goal of having 15% or more of our enrollment, a corresponding number of parent and community responses. We've known that's a lofty goal. That was a lofty goal when we set it. So even with our higher number this year, that goal is still about 1,000 higher than that. Each year, we do aim to have 90% of our parents give the district a positive rating, and this year we did have 92%, so that's on track with where we usually are there, up a point or two. We also aim to have 90% of our staff give the district a positive rating, and we had 94%, which is in the ballpark of where we usually are for that. And for parity, for equity, we aim for 90% of our students to give us a positive rating. I think our survey vendor would tell us that that will never be achieved, but we are usually knocking on the door of 80%. This year, I think we're at 79%, which is still pretty solid. That's where we usually are. Impressive still with that younger age group. There is a strategic plan point for making sure that all campuses provide students opportunities for extra activities, and we ask our students if they have that opportunity on the survey. 95% of them say yes, they do. And there are also some strategic plan questions that connect with well-being for students and staff. Our district measures that in other ways, but we do have a couple survey questions that align to that, so I wanted to include them here. We ask students, we give them the opportunity to answer this question: your physical well-being, your emotional well-being. The physical well-being has been very stable, but you see that emotional well-being has improved over the last 2 years. So that is encouraging. We also ask a well-being question to our staff. This is a long question. This question was kind of bequeathed to the world by Gallup. In one of their books, they suggest that all companies should ask this question. So we've been asking staff for a few years what rung of a hypothetical ladder they see their life on now, and those have been pretty stable. So this year we had 61% of staff put themselves in a thriving score on that. And those are all of the points that align directly with the strategic plan, but we wanted to pull out some of the points we've looked at in the past, some of the highlights just as additional things to look at. On the parent and community survey, this is one of my favorites. We always ask, does the district provide a positive return on your tax dollars? And remember the context, this is immediately after the Vader election. The community has just voted to impact their tax rate, to impact our funding, and this score went up a couple points to 95% of parent and community respondents saying that we provide a positive return on tax dollars. It's exciting. We did ask 2 questions about the Vader election process. We did not ask how they voted, but we asked if they voted. So even while it hurts my heart that we got an answer that 54% said they did not vote, it has been pointed out to me that that many yeses is a good deal higher than the average turnout, I believe, for the area. So there's kind of we're in the middle there. And we also asked about how they learned about the referendum. This is kind of a gift to the future district in case this data is useful in future elections to help us guide some of our information outreach. And this set of questions, these are all transportation questions. This was actually called out to us by the survey folks. They pointed this out to us. All of the transportation questions went up this year. And they told us that, and we were like, well, this is very interesting because our context is that we've been rolling out the smart tag system. And although there's not a specific question about smart tag, knowing that we're rolling this out and seeing that parents are giving a higher score even than last year, excuse me, is a positive indication of how transportation's been doing this year with that new system. So I will not read all of these. I pulled a small set of verbatim examples, and they range from HEB needs to be the leader in education in Texas to my kids are learning and becoming smarter. I'm very satisfied that I've chosen this school for my kids. So this is just a quick sample of what some of the verbatims look like on the parent community survey, and you can read these later if you'd like. On the staff survey, we like to point this out. This is one of the things we watch. Just scores that other districts would be very, very jealous of. 98% of staff saying they're proud to work for HEB, 95% saying they would encourage others to enroll their children here, and 98% saying they share our vision, mission, and goals. Just very, very numbers that other districts would be very jealous about. And then to show you that it's not all perfect roses all the time everywhere, I want to show you an example of where district leaders and campus leaders may take a closer look. So you can see on here that some of these questions for my campus administrator or immediate supervisor, some of these have ticked down since last year or over the last couple years. So this is an example of something we might say, hey, we need to kind of take a look, ask some questions. Is this a thing that's happening? Are we adding additional obligations and creating tension in those relationships? Like what do we need to discover about what's happening there? But even with that context, this is something that we may want to take more of a look at. All of these scores are well above 80% positive. So that's kind of our HEB context, is we have these phenomenal scores, and partly because we take a closer look when we see things happen. Again, I won't read these staff verbatim examples, but they range from there could be more behavior supports so that one student is not disrupting learning for everybody, to we are very goal and data driven, which helps us see when students are on track. The student survey is a little bit shorter, so we just brought one bonus data point here, and this third one where we ask students if Do you agree with, I feel safe in this school? You'll see that ticked up a couple points. We had seen that go down the previous year, and now that's coming back up. So that was an encouraging data point from the students. And then student verbatims, again, they can range everywhere from, I just want to be able to use the restroom as long as I need, because sometimes people take longer than 5 minutes, to, I like my teachers. My teachers and administrators are very nice and actually care about students beyond what's required. And then the middle column is a great sample of what the students say they would like to do after graduation. So I'll leave this up for a moment. The next slide is just a questions slide. If you do have any questions about the survey process or about some of this, or if you want to let us know now or later if this presentation of the data worked well for this setting, please let us know.
So, Mr. David or Brandon or Joe, first off, I think this is great. It's a great top sampling and high level.
Thank you.
Always thinking in continuous improvement. I'm just curious, and I don't know, of the ones that, especially dealing with the comment section, because you tipped me off and I got to read some of the comment sections, do we kind of anonymously evaluate those, and are they fed back to, I mean, what do we do with those? Are we reading those or studying those? Or
No, I mean, we're looking at them, and, we submit that to the campuses. So the principals are reviewing all of that information from the overall scores from, the district to their campus to the verbatims of their campus. Yeah.
Your point, it's mostly good. I'm just curious what we think about
Yep.
the few things that aren't.
No, I mean,
Are those
we're
things
going to
that we
look,
can
we're
improve
going to
on?
look to see what we see, and if there's an issue, let's see what we can do about it. Is it something we can fix? Is it a change we're making? Is the change process is hard? Is that something where we need to support change process? So we're going to go in and look at that, but, that's the thing. We always talk about, as a CI district, 2 and 2 is 4.
Yeah.
This is the reality, so we just have to deal with whatever is going on and try to, make sure that we can adjust what we can adjust to make sure that we're getting the goals we need to get. Yeah.
Very good.
All right, any other questions?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay, 9.03, random intruder audit report. Mr. Phillips.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have not seen you since September, and that is usually a good thing, so it's good to see everybody. I have seen you individually at different times, but have not had to come here. So I'll make a few statements after we go through this, but I do want to let y'all know that we have had 19 intruder audits done so far, so 19 of the 31 required campuses. We were at 100% until early December, so we had one in December and one in January. Both, as I get into it, one of them I expect, and we've discussed before how construction really, it's going to be difficult. Until Bell and Trinity are done, they're going to be difficult campuses to pass. So, and then you cannot take the, we're doing really well on human error. Mechanical error and failures of doors or door locks is something too that we can control the best we can until we find a mistake and then we fix it. So the two, I won't go through and read the background information because everybody's familiar with what this is now. But on December 9th, LD Bell received their intruder audit, and on January 13th, Harwood Junior High received theirs. The Bell failure was was at the portable buildings. And again, you're familiar with the setup and the way the students have to come out and down, and the portables are set a little side away. I went back and looked at the video because the auditor hit 3 minutes after the bell rang. The two doors weren't completely closed yet. We did talk with the teachers. It is normal for them to leave the doors open for a few minutes to allow the students because everybody doesn't get there on time. They are locking their doors, whereas last year they weren't always locking their doors. So we have made improvement, but I think just like anything else, I think if the auditor is sitting there in the parking lot, and we know what Bell parking's like, Dr. Joe and I talked about today, they had to get there a lot earlier than 2 minutes before because you can't get into that parking lot without a 20 or 30-minute wait. So I understand that. We did address it with the staff and again, just working on that, but the construction does cause issues. At Harwood, the door had been checked that day. earlier in the morning by the school resource officer when the auditor came through and randomly walked through the school and shook doors. Door J popped open. So when they did it a few times, and it was not catching the right way. So we did have maintenance come out and fix the tension on that immediately. Again, with the older doors, those tension rods, we replace them as we see when they fail. The good news is, and this is what I wanted to say, is we're doing so much better. You know, when I look at where we were 3 years ago when it started, the staff is doing such a good job. And I will tell you guys, I had a conversation with Dr. Johnson last week of, you know, what's one of the hardest parts of my job right now? Well, 3 years ago, there wasn't a Department of Safety and Security, and I was the Department of Safety and Security, and I got to go out to the campuses all the time. And I said, you know, when you start to be successful with the way that we have built stuff in the ESRO program, we have other people that can do that now. So I'm not the first person that always gets called to respond to campuses, and as much as I miss being out all the time, that is actually a good thing because every campus, every elementary campus is being visited by an SRO every day, if not twice a day. And every time they're there, they're checking doors. And so the staff has support that they haven't had before. The way that the electronic system is submitted to the state now, where the campuses can go on and do their door logs every day and their drills, and the TEA through the Sentinel program, they know what we're doing. So they don't even have to ask. If you drive up in the parking lot as an inspector, you can look and say, have they done their drills? Have they done their door logs? Don't even have to address that. So a lot of things are changing. We're getting a lot better. But because of the things that we've been able to place, because you guys have been so supportive, it is helping. You can see a dramatic difference this year. So thank you for that. Here to answer any other safety and security questions if you have them. If anybody needs updated on anything.
You heard them.
Okay.
Right,
thank you all very much.
Okay, 9.04, middle of the year measures of academic progress growth report. Dr. Norgard.
Good evening. I am excited to come and bring you our MAP middle of year data. Now that we've had several years of MAP, I think we're all becoming more comfortable in what is this report telling me. We just this past week conducted all of our mid-year instructional improvement meetings with all of our elementary campus principals, and hearing them speak about their MAP data, which is why I was sure they were all here. But they also know and understand this data. You know, it's a bit of a learning curve, but it's just exciting to see everybody putting this data into action and understanding what it means for next steps and how it can be used in the classrooms. So it is connected to our strategic plan because we're going to talk about growth, and we're also going to tie in our early literacy and numeracy now that we give MAP in K2 as well. You may recall from the beginning of your report, math we added last year, but this is our first year with K2 reading, and I'm going to speak to that here in a moment. So, literacy and numeracy. Okay, so we're going to look at subject area performance. So before I click to the first slide and the graphs, I'll just remind you, beginning of year I came in with all the bell curve pictures and just reminding you of what this means, that it's a norming sample. We're going to look at our performance in achievement first, how are students achieving compared to a national norm reference. So if it was a perfect bell curve, we would see equal bars of all the colors, and the median would run right through the middle. We do not. We have more blue and more green, and that 50th percentile that should run right through the middle of yellow with all other things being equal is right there in the green. So this is good. We are skewed in the direction that we would like to see our achievement skewing. So the same is true for math. Okay, so we are performing above the expectation in achievement of both reading and math. Question?
He was asking what the colors mean, just to review.
Okay, so the yellow would be average. That's why it should be in the middle, but ours is already down to the left. And so to either side, orange is low average and green is high average. Red is below and blue is above. So, but they should be 20% of our kids falling in each of those bands if it was normal. So the fact that we have more blue and green is a good thing. Okay? All right, the next slide's going to speak to growth. This is where we sometimes struggle just a little bit because we want to say all of our students can grow. Just like I said, here we're looking about the 50th percentile because we're thinking of a bell curve, so we want to be above the norm. Growth is also normed. So if you take all of the students that got the same score at beginning of year and they studied this group over years making their sample to see where they landed at mid-year, they didn't all score the same, right? They had the same score at beginning of year. They made a bell curve at mid-year. So it's seeing, did the students that were here, where did they hit in that bell curve? So it's a percentile, but then we'll talk about our percent of our students who met growth. Okay, so two different things. So same thing, we're happy to see that we are in the green. Second grade reading growth is still above the national norm. Okay, but there is something we're going to talk about with second grade reading before all is said and done. But really, this is good. We are outperforming expectations in reading and in math. So let's talk for a little bit about a cohort. When I look at just my kindergarten students, okay, those bars are what I just picked up from those growth slides. So that's the distribution. Where are they falling that normally you'd expect equal amounts of red, orange, yellow, green, blue? So we're good, lots of green and blue. At the bottom is the percent of our students who met or exceeded their growth. Because that doesn't always show up in the norming sample because I don't know, a kid that was red might still be red, but they grew. That was good for them. They've made improvement within that band. So it's two pieces of information that come together. But really, I'm going to draw your attention in these slides to that percent of our students that are meeting or exceeding growth. So anything above 50 there also is a good thing. It means they were to that right side of the curve. So we see fairly close performance at almost every grade other than second. Okay, and we talked about second grade at beginning of year that you may or may not recall. We talked about a lot of data since then. So this is our first year administering. There are different things that happen in second grade. Especially among them, we choose second grade is a dividing point in MAP. They can either take the K2 version or the 2.6 moving up. 2 is like that benchmark of which version of the test. We have made a decision with a lot of reflection from EdOps and principal input. We've got our language arts department here today. Our math department is in Austin right now at their state conference. And took all that input and decided we would put them on that higher version of the test so that we can really let them extend that ceiling. But what happens in second grade on the language arts side is because they're on that other test, there is an accommodation where it reads everything for them as second graders. So we need to pair this with our DIBELS data so that we can really understand which were pieces of comprehension versus, hey, if it's read to me, I can do well versus I need to read it myself. So it's actually helpful information. It was just a different way for us to look at it. We weren't used to second graders having things read to them. So this is a data point. It's our first year of administering. We will continue to watch that and look at that. I'm going to be coming back to you soon talking about DIBELS and how all of those data points come together. So this is most definitely an anomaly, but we feel, as we're going to watch those other data points come in, this may have more of a factor to do with the second grade reading test is a little different.
Can you go back to first grade for me then?
Yes.
Are first graders being read to?
No, because they are on that low. It's a different accommodation because it's a different version of the test. It's already accounting for them being first graders. So passages are, I'm looking at my language arts because I want to answer you fully and correctly.
In K and 1, there are no passages, but when you go to
Just-
second grade, it more resembles the
Okay.
fourth and fifth grade test. And so, as Holly was alluding to that allow for that growth model, the K through 2 test caps off at second grade.
Got it.
And so,
Okay, thank you.
So because the K in first was already accounting for their age, but we put our second graders on that older test, it reads to them. So we will continue to watch this. Some of you may recall when I bring DIBELS and used to have TRC data, and I would always say it's beginning of year TRC in kindergarten, that we know historically where we might have a dip. This could be something like that, but since it's our first year administering, we don't have enough background yet. But our eyes are on it because this looks different than every other grade right now. So we're watching it, but we're going to pair it with our other data points like DIBELS, the classroom observations, the progress monitoring that they're doing in the classroom. So all of those pieces will be considered.
Oh, yeah, so that I understand what the growth numbers actually mean. So this is half a year, so you have an expectation of how far kids would grow in half a
Their
year.
growth is measured from where they started. So not every student is expected to grow the same amount of points.
I mean, no matter where they start, you have an expectation as to where they'll be half a year in, and this
Yes,
percentage of kids.
but it
got
is
there.
based on where they start, because they don't all grow the same amount. But that number came from all the other students in the nation that scored that way at the year.
So a kid who starts slower, do you expect them to grow more or less?
It's going to be compared to the other students that grew like that. So it can vary based on the norming sample. They need to grow more to catch up to where they are.
That's
But when you're looking at other students that were already struggling, that comparison can be less. So, but I will say, even though we're talking about this discrepancy in second grade between reading and math, I'll just point out that the reading still is 58% of our students are meeting or exceeding growth. So we are outperforming the norm again. It's just, for us, kind of like Dave was saying about the survey, but we're not happy with that number. Something looks different to us here. So we have our eye on it, but we are performing well. And you will see in the remainder of these grades, very similar performance from these same group of students in reading and math in third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Just sometimes it's a little stronger in reading, a little stronger in math, but fairly consistent performance across those grades. So what does this all mean to us? I just had to start with this simple sentence because I love to be able to stand here and say to you, we are trending well. This is good data. I'm happy. That's the reason we're harping on second grade, because everything's looking good. But when it doesn't, we stop and talk about that. So I just wanted to stop and talk about this is good-looking data. So at all the grades in both subjects, our median student achievement and median student growth were above the 50th percentile. So this is good data. We will continue to watch it. This is the difference that we were talking about with second grade. So I may have additional clarification for you when I bring DIBELS, but I just wanted to be transparent that we knew that that data point didn't look like all of our others. So we're going to continue to watch it. It may end up being just something of our historical trend like that mid-year kinder TRC was every year. So instructional implications, while I'm bringing district level data to you, I have in the past shown you some of the many teacher reports that are available. So teachers are getting not just here's a score and whether they met or not, but what to do. Meet them where they are. We use this term, the zone of proximal development. So lots of guidance for our teachers in those resources and reports. And this also, again, because we have a continuation of where they could be below grade level or above. It really lets our teachers decide what I might need for intervention, but also extension. Just because they're meeting their growth, I want to exceed, I want to continue to move beyond that. So do you have any questions about our mid-year map?
Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Ollie. All right, we're ready for our regular board items, financial statements for the month of December 2025. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Good to see everybody this evening. We will be looking at our financial statements ended December 31st, 2025. That puts us about a third of the way through our fiscal year. And I'll start off by prefacing that we're right where we need to be, in very good shape, very comfortable with where we are. We'll start with the general fund. Fund balance of $181,594,830. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $6,010,385. Investment interest for this year so far at the end of December was $1,578,221. Total expenditures were at 31.53%, so they're within our parameters that we look at, being a third of the way through the year. So that fund is performing as we expect it to. The general fund expenditure matrix, Payroll at $65,795,067. That's 82.8%. Utilities at $1,813,202. That's 2.3% of the budget. Instructional supplies, $1,267,792. That's 1.6%. And other expenditures of $2,726,155, and that represents 3.4%. Child Nutrition Fund balance of $8,160,274. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $839,025. Interest revenue for this fund is coming in at $60,018. Expenditures were at 25.21% of the budget. So this fund continues to do very well also. Debt Service Fund balance of $50,101,736. You can see we're starting, our tax collection is starting to ramp up there. That represents revenues over expenditures of $25,047,518. Investment interest for this fund is at $381,965. Our first payment is already plugged in. It will be made next week for our first bond payments. That's due February 15th, so we will get that in before that deadline. And that second payment will come in the middle of August in the amount of $58,868,525. Tuition-based pre-K fund, we have a fund balance of $266,029. That's expenditures over revenues, $63,215. We will, at some point, our accounting department is going to make an adjustment. I'm just not sure exactly when, where we will pull some revenue out that for this fund will go back the other way due to the teachers' kiddos getting to stay for free, and the funding is coming from the state for that. So total expenditures of 12/31 were at 18.96%, so that's within the limits. So this fund is doing as we expect. Special revenue funds, total expenditures running 8.87%, and as always, those expenditures exceed revenues due to the lag in the TEA and reimbursements, because we spend it first and then get reimbursed. But all programs are tracking as expected. Campus Activity Fund balance of $4,426,894. That's revenue over expenditures of $992,047. Revenues were at $1.855 million, while expenditures were at nearly $863,000. These funds are operating as they should also. 2024 bond funds, that number, as you see, is coming down as we're spending that money on all the big construction projects we've got going on. That's a fund balance of $440,895,443. Expenditures over revenues in the amount of $46,202,230. Investment interest on this fund is at $2,698,842. So we continue to do well with those investments. And as I've said in past meetings, we will be looking at later summer, maybe possibly into the fall, maybe even into next year before we decide to sell these bonds. We don't want to sell them until we need them, until the market is the most favorable for us to make that next sale. And the locally defined capital projects fund balance of $30,674,378. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $144,797. We just have a few little projects lingering here and there that we're spending money out of that fund on. We will bring you later on this evening a request to do some more HVAC repair. And we will be asking the board to transfer some fund balance into this fund now that the auditors have adjusted all our numbers and we see what we can transfer. Any questions?
Any questions on the financial statements? Let's move down to budget transfers and amendment requests for consideration in February 2026.
Oh, this is smaller. Okay, we have, make it a little bit bigger, please. Thank you. Great. We have minimal fund-to-fund transfer request this month of $14,827 from Function 21, Instructional Leadership to Instruction. The bigger one is the proposed budget amendment. We've got one for data processing, $69,276. This is part of the Skyward move to Skyward software. We brought you one a month or so ago, which was the big number. This is actually for the hosting fee that's also part of that expenditure. And then down at the bottom under other uses, you'll see the $1,923,922. That is what we're asking the board to transfer into the locally defined fund with the approval of this amendment. So, and that will coincide with an expenditure we're going to ask you to approve too for some HVAC units. So, any questions on that?
All right, any questions on transfers? Thank you, Dobie. 10.03, revisions to localized policy, TASB policy update 126. Ms. Tuttle?
So these are the localized policies that our division leaders have reviewed with their teams and made sure that we support all of the verbiage provided by the Texas Association of School Boards. And these will come to you again at the next meeting. But I also wanted to point out that one of the provided documents for you is a document that lets you see the specific topics that were addressed in the 85th legislature. While it's not crosswalked to the localized policies, it does give you a really good picture of each of the changes and where they came from. Any questions?
Any questions on these revisions? All right, thank you, Cicely. 10.04, instructional materials adoption for grades K through 12 mathematics. Dr. Norgard.
Okay, so just a reminder, this is the time of year when we're looking at materials in an adoption cycle. Last year, I was here talking to you about phonics in the spring. Because of some timelines last year, with that being our first year going through the MR process, we kind of condensed our process. We are trying to get back to our normal cycle where we are bringing the title to you, just the title right now, and for you to see if you have any questions, and then at our next meeting, if you will approve that title, then I will come back with purchase options. We continue to, we want to be sure that we're taking all that information into account, but this was just about the resource itself, the title. The purchase would follow if you approve this title.
All right, any questions on the instructional materials? All right, thank you, Holly. 10.05, RFQ 25-07 for construction commissioning services. Mr. Kerbo.
Mr. Romero, board members, it's good to be here to discuss the riveting subject of construction commissioning and all that entails. So I will go into a brief history, but I want to give you a background as to what that means, because something new, although it's not really new, but wholesale construction commissioning is something that we've not done before. Commissioning gets its roots in shipbuilding, of all things. And you've known that. When ship's done, they're going to test it to make sure it's seaworthy, whether it's for battle, for cargo, for human transport. They're going to make sure it works, right? Well, that's what construction commissioning does. As it applies to buildings, it started in about 1970 and has expanded to grow with all the different systems that are interoperable with one another. How you install a window affects how the HVAC works. What you wrap the building with affects how the energy controls work and so forth. So things are more complex, so it's important to ensure that all systems that are included in any construction of any of our facilities work as they are designed. So the process starts with hiring a qualified engineer that reviews the design and creates tests or affirms test systems to work as they're designed, so that the owner can be guaranteed that they're getting exactly what it is that was designed. So that's what the construction commissioning process is about. What we did is we created a scope of work in a solicitation document and submitted it to qualified vendors. We had 15 responses. We whittled it down to 5, and we're bringing recommendation for 2 of them, for Estes McClure and Associates, EMA Engineering as they're known now, but they've been Estes McClure and Associates forever, and then McCown Gordon Construction, both highly qualified firms, and that would be our recommendation.
My only comment is that I'm in no way associated with Campos Engineering.
That was the first question I asked them whenever we interviewed them.
Okay, these are being paid for through bond funds. So are these on all bond construction projects for all?
And the 1701 building too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any additional questions?
This is an additional, I mean, we knew we were going to have to have,
Yes, ma'am.
so we've actually that.
Yeah, this is basically just picking a contractor for it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. 10.06, replacement of HVAC units at Hurst Junior High School.
Okay, so note to future, do not follow such an eloquent explanation for riveting commissioning explanation. I'm just coming asking for boring old HVAC, okay, so.
Hey, now.
Yeah. I was wondering if I was going to get caught on that. The difference on this one would be is in the past, sometimes you've seen us bring HVAC, but we didn't bring about the controls. This one has that broke out so you can see both prices. We actually did that separate. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll embed that with like a sub to the HVAC company. So on this one, you're actually seeing that separated out.
So helicopters?
Maybe on this one, we might do that.
Hurst Junior High, it's
Yes.
a big building.
It's about that reach, and so we've had to do that in the past because of not being able, so it's the cost of the crane, how big you want to get, or whether we just fly them in.
Yeah. All right, any additional questions? All right, thank you, Josh.
Okay.
10.07, construction change order number 1 for Midway Park Elementary School construction schedule. Still Josh.
Okay, this one is just, like we've said before, trying to realign and make sure the dates are accurate, everything looks nice and clean. Big change on this was, Midway Park is going to finish in October, so you've got to jump from October to January. Obviously, we can't take a building down with everybody still in there, so there's a gap piece there. So we're just aligning some of those dates. Also, the original RFP on some of these that we were not accurate to what we're doing on the schedule. So we're just aligning these dates so that you have those accurately. And this is a $0 change order.
All right, any questions on the change order? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for action items. 11.01, consider approval of donations for this February regular board meeting, presentation of certificates of appreciation.
I move the
Accept the
board.
motion.
I move the board approve the February 2026 donations as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the February 2026 donations as presented. Please vote. At least that's a lot faster. It was faster. The question was fast. The answer, not so much.
Did it pull up you? Julie, did you get one too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to try it again?
Changed his map.
Yeah, I did.
That is interesting. 'Cause
Like a
it's
commentator at the Super Bowl. They haven't had a penalty all game. This could be the first Super Bowl ever. Holding.
No. Okay, I have everybody but you two ladies, so tell me I'll do it manually.
I vote aye.
Aye.
For the commercial.
They weren't that great this year. All right, that motion passes. It didn't come up on our screen, but, or at least not on my screen. Okay. All right, item 11.02, consider approval of no action related to Senate Bill 11, prayer time during school day. Dr. Harrington?
Yes, the administration recommends at this time that we take no action on this. Senate Bill 11 allowed schools to designate prayer time or the ability to read the Bible or other religious texts. As we reviewed this bill, we found the requirements that go along with this bill would require us, if we participated, we would have to get signed permission slips that were very lengthy in areas that they had to contain from each child designating what they could or could not do. We currently make arrangements for children to pray as needed, and as far as I know, the system is working, and we have not had issues with the current system we have. The bureaucratic burden that this would place to not necessarily accomplish anything more from the specifics that are in the bill, we have to recommend that we take no action on this.
All right. Anyone have any discussion? I'll accept the motion.
I move the Board of Trustees take no action related to Senate Bill 11 as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the Board of Trustees to take no action related to Senate Bill 11 as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. I thought they were supposed to pop up on the screen, it's on our screen.
It came up on mine.
The total vote?
I guess, okay, I can.
There's a button on the right that says show vote.
Yeah.
Did you get it earlier? Because it wasn't popping up, and now it is.
For those of you that didn't get it, there's a button on the right, top right, says show vote. It'll let you pop up and see it, and then you can close it again.
But I was looking for like that.
Right there.
But
We're learning.
We're learning.
Even an old dog can learn new tricks.
okay. Now I gotta scroll all the way down. I'm not sure how to get back out of this.
You have to click on them so people up to action. Uh-oh.
That I'm logged out.
Andy, this is supposed to be where you tap dance for us. Pardon me? You're supposed to be tap dancing for us now.
That's not my AP class, not with this.
This is still not working right.
No, he's getting it.
Number 11 is where we are.
11:03.
Yeah. But you have to go up to where.
All right, 11:03, consider approval of submitted contracts, MOU agreements related to HB 3372. Ms. Tuttle?
We just have one contract for you to consider this evening in compliance with our 3372 process.
All right, any questions or discussion? I'll accept the motion.
After reviewing the contract, the MOU agreements between the following individual administrations, education businesses, open enrollment, charter schools, or regional service centers, I move the board approve the contracts as submitted.
I have a motion and a second that after review, the contracts, MOUs, agreements between the following individuals, administrators, and education businesses, open enrollment charter schools, regional, no, I can't read it. Okay. Regional Services Centers, I move that the board approve the contracts as, yeah, we already had a motion and a second, so that the board approve the charters as submitted. So please vote. All right, and that motion passes. All right, we're at 11:04. Consider approval of RFP 25-15 furniture, fixtures, and equipment for athletic phase of Trinity High School rebuild. Mr. Kerbo?
It's me again. As you know, we're set to take possession of the athletic area at Trinity this summer, which is fast approaching. In order to do that properly, we've assembled a group of our athletic department, Mr. Fielder, Mr. Fuller, and Mr. Bimbleton, to work with their end users of the 18 different areas that comprise the athletic area at Trinity. They came up with a list of needs and whittled down through it and came up with a final list of things and put those together in an RFP to solicit pricing. Altogether, were 181 different items. Some of them were small. Some of the areas only needed a few things. Major areas like the arena gym, training room, weight room. Two of the other ones are fairly large, but all this compiled together to make our presentation, our recommendation here tonight. We do have specific items. I did provide a follow-up to some questions, I think, related to what specifically was being requested and purchased for each area. We had 12 items, groups of items that we did not get bids on, so we'll seek alternate solicitations or solutions for those items, but this is our recommendation here. So I know you got a lot of questions, but
what's an example of one of the 12 items? When I read that, I thought, why would, what would an item be?
Laundry cart, yeah. Golf simulator, come on up, Mike.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, we didn't get any bids on the golf simulators. So that's not unexpected, but we can deal with it. But they didn't respond. So there were a number of those items. Got some more examples?
Some more examples. Some more examples of things that we wanted that did not get bid on.
Almost something really simple, like a pulley system for rehab in the training room, but that was really subtle and not a very big item.
So how do we, I'm just curious, how do we deal with that then?
Well, we'll make another quote and solicit vendors individually and get them to provide pricing on them. We don't think that's going to be significant from a dollar standpoint, say for the golf simulators. That's going to be a costly item, group of items, but it's not excessive. And it's certainly not going to exceed what we've requested here. The items that we have totaled are about 70,000. How much did I say? 792,000, something around there. So we're asking for another 70,000 to up to 850 should get us enough, have us enough to be able to identify those vendors and make those purchases.
So if I'm looking at the spreadsheet that has the description for each item, any item that doesn't have a corresponding bid, that goes into the bucket of the 12?
Correct.
Okay. And so the delta between the 850 and the 700 some odd, that's going to be used potentially to rebid these 12 items?
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, if we find out that we can't get it for that, we'll bring a supplemental package to you. We don't expect that to happen, but that would be what we would do.
Okay, I have a question since you're at the mic.
Rebuilding Bill and Trinity, would they get all new desks and teacher desk at both schools?
Yes, sir.
And and the question after that was, what do you do with the old desk?
They'll be disposed of. We'll probably save a couple of classroom sets just to have them on hand, but for the most of them, they'll be disposed of through auction. Items that can be sold will be sold. Items that are no longer useful, we will dispose of.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing the same bid package for Bell?
Yes, a much better bid package now that the learning curve has been established.
But equal as in
Yes.
what we're seeking?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why we didn't just bid for two?
Because the cost was so far out for Bell, they're going to be several years out before we buy those. So the bid structure will be in place. We'll resubmit for competitive pricing and get whatever the current market rate is. It's difficult to get somebody to hold pricing.
Were the
that
prices
long.
going to exceed what it would cost to store the items?
Well, that's a good question. We didn't consider that.
Is it too late to consider that?
How much is it, where are you going to store it?
We're too late. That would be we'd have to make arrangements for storage. Usually that's a paid warehouse that's bonded. So I don't know what those costs would be. Big picture, the big ticket on that is the weight room. That's a fairly significant cost, and it's difficult that they would be able to store that for us for a long period.
What are we forecasting the price of the Bell package to be?
Approximately the same.
So are you thinking that if we bought two at the same time, we could get better prices on the whole package?
Yes.
Makes sense that you could.
We could certainly ask that question.
And could they hold it if we did that?
We'd have to ask that question, because you're looking at 10 different vendors, so my guess is some vendors will say yes, some vendors will say no, but we can certainly inquire about that.
So maybe we buy what makes sense.
Well, in 2 or 3 years, they may improve the product too.
That's what I was going to
That's-
say.
yeah.
Because what's the lag, the lag time between the two? I mean, by the time Bell gets done, you may not want to use the same products you used over at Trinity.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to buy a golf simulator now for 3 years from now because the technology is going to change.
Yeah, but a 10-pound weight's a 10-pound weight.
Now, the golf simulator may be better in 3 years.
Evaluate it, do what you think is best.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, if there's no additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the RFP number 25-15 for furniture, fixtures, equipment for athletic equipment for Trinity High School rebuild, awarding this purchase to multiple vendors as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve RFP 25-15 for furniture, fixtures, and equipment for athletic equipment for Trinity High School rebuild, awarding this purchase to multiple vendors as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, we're down to other business. Did any board member have anything they'd like to have added to a future board agenda? All right, 12.02, I looked at it earlier and it looked like everything was covered through March. So, it looks like maybe the Adopt a School reception doesn't have anyone down for it.
I don't think I got to that.
Before we look at this again. All right, well, we'll give everyone an opportunity to check that out. All right, we do not need another closed session. Then I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Good job, Ty, in getting us on this new software.